Hi everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph video clip and audio, and it's another weekly lesson. This week we're going to talk about the decline of nightclubs here in the UK. And we'll be doing that by going through a news report, looking at some of the difficult words to try and make it understandable. So, the weekly lesson this week is all about nightclubs and how they're disappearing from the UK. Let's go over to a news story to look at this further. Right, here we are. You can see here the headline. It says, "End of Hedonism, Why Britain Turned Its Back on Clubbing." So this news story has essentially decided that nightclubs here in the UK are something of the past. Let's begin by looking at the first sentence. It says, "End of hedonism, why Britain turned its back." So hedonism, first of all, is when you put pleasure above anything else. It's used in the UK as a very moral word and a very negative word. Sometimes we describe people as being hedonistic if they appear to be very excited and enjoying things. Why Britain turned its back on clubbing? Well, we turn our back on something when we walk away from it. My personal feeling is that with night clubbing, its days were numbered after the smoking ban. To say the days were numbered of something means that it was counting down until it disappeared anyway after the smoking prohibition, because nightclubs and smoking seem to go hand in hand. Of course, I'm talking purely here about Britain. Nightclubs, I'm sure, are thriving in other parts of the world. Maybe our fashions and tastes are changing. There's a lot to think about there. End of hedonism. Why Britain turned its back on clubbing. Of course, there are still a lot of nightclubs around, but this story here is saying that, well, they've ended. And you can see a glitter ball. That's those big balls that go around. A glitter ball, which has fallen and smashed. Glitter, Glitter, a glitter ball. Right, it says here, in an old gun barrel factory in Sheffield's industrial heartland, hundreds of people are raving under the fluorescent lights of Hopeworks Club for one of the last times before it closes. One young woman has dressed all in black to signify the loss of her favorite place, right? Let's break this down because it isn't easy. So it's an old factory where they used to make gun barrels. That's the part of the gun which holds the bullets. In Sheffield's industrial heartland, because just like the rest of the UK, Sheffield, which is a northern town, used to be very industrial. And in one of the old factories, people are raving. That means they're attending a rave. A rave is indeed a form of night clubbing where they play rave music. It's really very fast, not something that I would enjoy. But raving, dancing, perhaps I'm getting very, very drunk. We'll read more about it. It says here, this is a landmark of Sheffield. It means it's iconic. Says one reveller. A reveller is someone who is dancing a lot, acting a bit crazy with fun. It's the reason a lot of people come to university here, adds another. Its owner, that's the owner of this old gun barrel factory, which is now a nightclub, he says he believes that nightlife venues like this are the vital underbelly of everything. Underbelly, in this case, means pivotal, the vital thing of everything. You can tell they're young. For me, when I went to nightclubs, I was listening to Amanda Lear. I think those days have changed somewhat. It says here, it's where people find themselves, he says. It's where people find their tribe. Mr. O'Shea, who calls himself a child of the rave generation, started Hopeworks because he wanted to tap into, that means to connect with, that original spirit. Hopeworks has gone. It closed its doors permanently in February after 13 years. And according to Mr. O'Shea, grassroots clubs in the UK, places where up-and-coming artists often perform live, are dropping like flies. And that's what we say when things are ending quickly. We say they're dropping like flies. You know, last week, two of my colleagues, who are now in their late 60s, early 70s, died. And I was thinking, oh, they're dropping like flies. That's two people I used to work with who've died suddenly. In the last 5 years, around 400 clubs have closed in Britain, more than a third of the total number. So that means, of course, nightclubs. In London, a dedicated task force is being launched by the Mayor's office to help boost nightlife and save venues at risk of closing. A complex matrix of factors are all conspiring against and placing pressure on the sector, making for a perfect storm for nightclubs, says Tony Rigg, music industry advisor and program leader at the University of Central Lancashire. So conspiring against, that just means set up in a way that they're going to fail. To conspire against something is to make a plan against it. And it says here, making a perfect storm for nightclubs. Perfect storm is a storm that is designed to do what it will do, damage things. There are many factors that could be at play, among them rising costs, less disposable income, and changing lifestyle choices. But the closure prompt broader questions. The closures prompt broader questions too. Some experts have suggested, for example, that the lasting impact of the COVID-19 lockdowns may have led to people going out less than they once did. And if that is the case, could the closure of so many clubs nod to a wider cultural shift, particularly among Generation Z or Generation Z? So could the closure of so many clubs nod to a wider cultural shift? It just means, could this mean that things are changing? Well, I don't think they are. I think this is all because of the smoking ban. I think after that, people just didn't want nightclubs anymore. Let's try to continue this story for a little bit. It says, did the pandemic change a generation? For several years during the pandemic, young people were unable to experience nightlife in the same way previous generations had. So perhaps it is not surprising there have been shifts in the way they socialize. A recent Nighttime Industries Association study of more than 2,000 people aged between 18 and 30 found that nearly two-thirds were going out less frequently than the year before. Right, let's just go over some of these words then. Hedonism. That's where you put pleasure above everything else. To turn your back on something is to turn away and walk away. Barrel factory, a gun barrel factory. That's the place where they used to make the barrels of guns, where ammunition went inside. And that was in the centre of Sheffield's industrial area, the heartland. All of our towns, villages, especially in the north, had a strong industry, and many of those contributed greatly to the UK economy. The ones that did most, we call them the heartlands, the centre. Hundreds of people raving, dancing, having a nice time loudly. People attend raves, raving. It's a very negative word in English. Under the fluorescent lights, the strong lights of Hopeworks nightclub. A reveller, someone who revels or dances wildly. The underbelly, the heartland, the center place. The rave generation, well, that certainly wasn't my generation, that's for sure. Grassroots, that's places where up and coming artists perform live and dropping like flies, disappearing quickly one by one. Okay, there we are. So it says here, in the last 5 years, 400 clubs have closed. In London, a dedicated task force is being launched by the mayor's office to help boost nightlife and save venues. But why people would want to stay up all night? I've no idea. It's rather strange. They stay up all night to party, and then they're too exhausted the next day to do anything else. I never have been a fan of those. um, yes, we were just reading the next part, weren't we? There we are. Did the pandemic change a generation? So we've got some new words there. Okay. Hedonistic, very common. To turn your back on something, very common. Reveler, raver, people raving. Heartland, landmark, underbelly. Lots of new words. Maybe you can think of some sentences with these new words. And if we're having a lesson in the coming days, maybe you can share them with me. And that's it from me for now. So I just wanted to share this story with you about the hedonism and why Britain turned its back on night clubbing. I'm not sure if it's the same in your country, but it's definitely like that here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this weekly lesson. I've been having feedback that my weekly lesson the last few weeks has been a little bit longer. So I'm trying to make a shorter one just to keep everyone happy. That's it from me. See you all soon. Bye.